Part 57. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 561. Chapter 561 is not as simple as you think. Just answer it, I'm just curious. Xia Ying said. Rongxi's face darkened, and while slowly shaking the cup of tea in front of him, he lowered his eyes and explained, there is no special reason, I just like it. Xia Ying frowned. This reason was obviously not convincing enough. Rongxi also saw Xia Ying's suspicion, so he continued, not everything needs a reason, just like your family's conditions are so good, why do you become a singer to make money? And you Lingfeng, you are so smart, why are you a homeless person and why don't you contribute to the country? But being an agent is a high-risk profession, and your life may be endangered if you are not careful. Xia Ying retorted. After hearing this, Rongxi shrugged helplessly and said meaningfully, there are many dangerous professions in this world. Aren't special police officers dangerous? But someone has to do it, right? Well, let's not talk about this. I came out to find you because I wanted to ask about Jun Chenai. Hearing Jun Chenai's name, Rongxi frowned, then what were you doing before? He thought Xia Ying wanted to ask him something. Well, let's just chat. Xia Ying smiled. Rongxi's face drooped. I remember I said I've been very busy recently. No, this matter is very critical and related to Jun Chenai's life safety. As soon as Xia Ying finished speaking, Rongxi's expression immediately changed. He looked at Xia Ying in a panic and confirmed again and again, what did you say? Who wants to harm Chen Yi? Yu Lingfeng said indifferently, others have no way of touching you Jun family members. What they are afraid of is that you Jun family members have the intention of excluding you. As soon as Yu Lingfeng finished speaking, Rongxi's eyes became more complicated and confusing. Rongxi leaned on the back of the sofa and waited for a long time before opening his mouth and asking, how did you know? Who is the person who wants to harm Chen Yi? I just don't know at the moment, so I came to ask you. Xia Ying said, you and Jun Chenai have spent the most time together since childhood. You also know him best and are the closest to him. You should know a lot about Jun Chenai and the Jun family, so I think you probably know most of who wants to harm Jun Chenai. No, it's not as simple as you think. Rongxi's eyes became dull, and he looked out the window with concentration, and said silently, those people in the Jun family are all very shrewd, and they put on a lot of drama when they met, as if blood is thicker than water. In fact, since Chen Yi after the death of my grandfather, the Jun family has become a mess. Now everyone doesn't interact with each other very much, and they don't want to play any role in the public. Who among them doesn't want to be the heir of the Jun family? But who is so cruel that he wants to persecute Chen Yi? I really don't know. But one thing is clear, Chen Yi has been targeted by them since he was a child. When Mr. Jun died, Chen Yi was still so young, so the Jun family gave it to him. For such a young child, which of Chen Yi's uncles could bear such a tone? Therefore, Chen Yi had to conceal his identity since he was a child, and only later did he gradually regain his original identity. It's just that what I didn't expect was that this group of people would not be reconciled and would still attack their relatives. Rongxi sighed deeply after saying this. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 562. Chapter 562. If you need help, just tell me. Xia Ying felt a sense of pain in her heart inexplicably when she heard Rongxi's words. Jun Chenai looks carefree, has hundreds of millions of fans, and is a national hero known throughout the country, but the only thing he really tolerates and doesn't tell the outside world, and how deplorable it is himself. Just know. Xia Ying and Jun Chenai have known each other for such a long time. Except for meeting his parents once when they went to Jun's house for dinner a few years ago, they have never seen each other again. Jun Chennai himself said that his parents have been dealing with business abroad all year round. Since he was a child, Jun Chennai has not received much love from his parents. One can imagine how lonely people like him lived when they were young. By the way, how did you know that someone in the Jun family wanted to frame Chen Yi? Rong Si asked. It's hard to explain this matter clearly to you. We also learned the news accidentally, so we came over to tell you. Xia Ying continued. Did you know that Jun Chennai has accepted a Hollywood blockbuster? Rong Si nodded with confusion. I know, it's all on the news now. But is there any connection between these two things? Yes, the other party plans to take advantage of favorable factors at the filming site to harm Jun Chennai, and then blame the incident as a performance accident. Xia Ying continued. Although we now know the other party's plan, the most critical thing at the moment is to be able to figure out who the other party is. Since he wants to put Jun Chennai to death, even if this plan fails, there is no way we can guarantee that he will know it exactly every time. What you said makes sense. I will investigate this matter. Rong Si lowered his eyes with a solemn expression. Jun Chennai has been avoiding these possible disasters all the time for so many years. And the most ridiculous thing is that all these fatal injuries came from those closest to him. If you need my help, just tell me directly, Yu Lingfeng said. Rong Si nodded, then raised his head and looked at Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng with gratitude. Thank you very much for telling me these things. Chennai is really lucky to have friends like you. After separating from Rong Si, Xia Ying felt a little sad. She looked at Yu Lingfeng and said, Yu Lingfeng, actually, sometimes I feel that I am really happy. Although things like Xiamenjian's happened before, Xia Ying is really much luckier than Jun Chennai. At least, Xia Ying found out in the end that her parents loved her. She has so many relatives who care and love her, including Yu Lingfeng and Gu Chong. But Jun Chennai had nothing but words. Xia Ying didn't know what Jun Chennai's parents were thinking. Even Rong Si knew that Jun Chennai had been persecuted since childhood. So why did Jun Chennai's parents choose to live abroad instead of being with Jun Chennai? Are they so relieved about Jun Chennai? Or are they actually protecting Jun Chennai secretly? Xia Ying didn't know. Xia Ying thought that maybe Jun Chennai's so-called pedophilia case in his previous life was also related to those people who were behind the scenes. A person like Jun Chennai would never do something so heartbreaking. Yu Lingfeng didn't say anything. He just stretched out his hand and held Xia Ying in his arms, silently. Xia Ying leaned on Yu Lingfeng's shoulder and looked at the sky outside the window. There are a few leisurely clouds floating in the blue sky, but no one knows when the seemingly calm sky will suddenly hear a loud noise and then pour heavy rain. Additional update for yesterday's reward. Thank you little cutie. Don't forget your original intention and the season on the other side of autumn for your rewards. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 563. Chapter 563. The sympathy between top students. The mock test before the college entrance examination is coming soon. During this time, the learning atmosphere in the class is getting stronger and stronger. Although it is not the college entrance examination, the mock test is also very illustrative. No one wants to fail at this juncture, because it will affect the mentality. If you do well in the mock exam, the college entrance exam that follows will be easier and not too heavy. Jun Chennai still doesn't know how Xia Ying calculated those things, but since she doesn't want to tell, Jun Chennai is helpless with her. During the break, Ye Xiaoxun turned around and blinked his big clear eyes and asked Xia Ying, have you ever thought about where to go after the college entrance examination? Xia Ying looked at Ye Xiaoxun's face as bright as a summer flower, thought about it carefully, and then said, it seems that I haven't thought about this problem yet, but it is also possible that I will go directly to Austria to practice music. Just like her usual winter and summer vacations, only during the winter and summer vacations did she have enough time to go to Modzai to practice music. Huh, Yeziaksun sighed, are you working so hard? I was still thinking about traveling with you if possible. Xia Ying smiled and said, well, it all depends on my schedule. Mu Niankai seems to have said that she is going to Europe to travel. Yeziaksun continued, suddenly, I am very envious of their art students. Mu Niankai's current position at Imperial University is considered stable. I have been dreaming recently that I failed in the college entrance examination. I didn't even pass the exam, which scared me to death. Xia Ying was amused by Yeziaksun, then she patted Yeziaksun's shoulder from behind and said, if we can't even get into the first class in the school, what will happen to Guanjiang's admission rate this year? You are just doing it for yourself. It's too stressful. Just relax and don't study too hard. Jun Chennai on the side looked at the scene where Xia Ying and Yeziaksun cherished each other, and couldn't help but said sourly, I said you are first in one grade and second in grade, can you please stop being so hypocritical? I, a scumbag, didn't say anything. It really hurts my self-esteem. Jun Chennai said, and deliberately moved to the side, farther away from the two top students. Xia Ying glanced at Jun Chennai and said angrily, I said, aren't you the 20th in your grade now? Why are you such a scumbag? Jun Chennai was very unhappy when he heard his ranking. Ever since he was born, Jun Chennai, what has he not been number one in? Unfortunately, he couldn't get first place in his academic performance. For Jun Chennai, as long as he was not first, it would be a shame. However, having said that, the reason why his performance has improved by leaps and bounds within this year is still inseparable from Chu Shenxiu's old turtle dove. Because Jun Chennai likes to play games and is very good at playing games, basically as long as he is online, he can get the first place in the daily rankings. If Chu Shenxiu hadn't announced his ID last time, forcing him to change his account, he would have been number one on the annual list. This Chu Shenxiu is just jealous of his good game playing, so every time he plays a game, Chu Shenxiu will use his studies to stimulate him, and his last performance ranking to coerce him. Although this trick is insidious, it is no matter how hard he tried, Jun Chennai would be so angry at Chu Shenxiu that he would log off and go study. However, over time, Jun Chennai's academic performance improved and his game playing skills remained the same, but Chu Shenxiu still couldn't compete with him. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 564. Chapter 564, Wait for me to take first place. Okay, let's not talk about this hurtful self-esteem thing. Jun Chennai changed the subject silently, and then threw one of his textbooks to Xia Ying, help me highlight the key points. Xia Ying was stunned for a moment, and then said, there is no key point in the biology book, because everything is the key point, the bits and pieces of knowledge, and the pictures, all of which must be memorized. Jun Chennai's eyes darkened, well, no wonder he has been lagging behind in life recently. Jun Chennai took the book and began to study it from the first page. Well, you just wait until I understand the creatures thoroughly and then grab your first position. Xia Ying and Yeziaksun smiled at the same time. Okay, we'll see. Xia Ying said. Although Jun Chennai's strength is not that great, he is still very brave, so Xia Ying still gave him some face and did not expose him. When Xia Ying came home from school, she suddenly saw a strange car parked in front of her house. Xia Ying told the driver to stop instead of driving straight over. Then, Xia Ying saw Luo Xin walking out of the car. Then a gentle middle-aged man got out of the car. The man was holding a large bouquet of red roses that were so red that they were bleeding. When Luo Xin turned around to enter the house, he handed them to Luo Xin. Luo Xin probably didn't expect such a thing to happen, so she acted very surprised. Her first reaction when seeing the bouquet of flowers was to dodge rather than accept it. Then, the man said something, and Luo Xian accepted the bouquet of flowers with embarrassment. Luo Xian returned home, and the man turned around to open the car door and drive home. Xia Ying then saw the man's face clearly. It was Uncle Yan Chen. Xia Ying remembered this man. In her last life, when Luo Xian and Xia Chuanhai were having trouble, this man was always by Luo Xian's side. Xia Ying once asked Luo Xian about her relationship with Uncle Yan Chen, and Luo Xian said that they were male best friends. Xia Ying didn't think much about it at the time, but Xia Ying always remembered how good Uncle Yan Chen was to Luo Xian. In her last life, Xia Ying and Luo Xian also had a quarrel for a while. At that time, Luo Xian was lonely and helpless, and this man had always been by her side. Xia Ying originally thought that the relationship between Luo Xian and Xia Chuanhai was obviously different in this life, so Yan Chen should not appear, but why did he appear? Xia Ying is a little confused. In the last life, when Yan Chen appeared, Luo Xian and Xia Chuanhai were at the peak of their quarrel. But now the relationship between Luo Xian and Xia Chuanhai has obviously improved. Xia Ying can even assert that Xia Chuanhai will return to this house not long after she finishes the college entrance examination, but at this time Yan Chen appears. Xia Ying inexplicably began to have very bad thoughts. After Xia Ying returned home, she saw the dazzling bouquet of roses in the living room. Such bright and pure colors, in Xia Ying's opinion, were just dazzling. Chu Shenxiu saw that Xia Ying had been staring at the bouquet of flowers as soon as she came back, so he poked Yu Lingfeng with his elbow and said, I have never seen you give my cousin Xia Ying flowers. Yu Lingfeng looked at Xia Ying after Chu Shenxiu said this. He hadn't thought about this problem, but girls seemed to like flowers. Tisk, 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 you can't compare to my uncle, a man in his 40s who doesn't understand romance. Why does he suddenly feel sorry for my cousin Xia Ying? End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 565. Chapter 565. Why lie? Wait a minute. Xia Ying suddenly interrupted Chu Shenxiu and asked, Big Turtle Dove, what did you just say? Huh? Chu Shenxiu didn't understand what Xia Ying meant, so he said in confusion, I said Yu Lingfeng didn't understand romance. What's wrong? Can't I say this? No, it's this flower. Who did you just say sent this flower? Xia Ying's sudden seriousness made both Chu Shenxiu and Yu Lingfeng feel a little baffled. What's wrong with this flower? Why is Xia Ying so curious about this flower? It was given by my uncle. What's wrong? Chu Shenxiu looked at Xia Ying's serious expression and swallowed silently. At this time, Luo Xian changed into home clothes and walked towards them. Luo Xian saw Xia Ying and said with a smile, Xia Ying is back. Mom will cook for you today. Luo Xian thought she could hear Xia Ying's usual cheers, because Xia Ying always liked eating the food she cooked. However, this time Xia Ying unexpectedly showed no surprise, but suddenly asked Luo Xian, Mom, was this rose given to you by Dad? Luo Xian was stunned for a moment, and the expression on her face suddenly became stiff. Luo Xian met Xia Ying's eyes, which seemed to see her through. Luo Xian was stunned for a long time before a slightly bitter smile emerged from the corner of her mouth. Yeah, what's wrong? Xia Ying obviously saw the dodge in Luo Xian's eyes, but Xia Ying did not expose it, but cooperated with Luo Xian and continued acting. Xia Ying suddenly grinned, smiled maliciously, and said to Luo Xian, Ha, does Dad know how to be romantic now? Then Mom, you have accepted all the flowers, when will you officially accept Dad? When Luo Xian heard Xia Ying's words, she breathed a sigh of relief and said, You kid, why do you worry about these things all day long? I won't talk to you anymore, I'm going to cook. Luo Xian said and walked towards the kitchen. For just a moment, she almost thought Xia Ying had seen something. If Xia Ying had just seen it, she would have mistakenly thought that she had something to do with Yan Chen. She has made it clear to Yan Chen that although she and Xia Chuanhai are currently separated, they will get back together soon. Luo Xian said to Yan Chen, "You are a good person. Please don't waste your good time on me. It's really not worth it." Yan Chen remained silent and did not speak. When they finally parted, he only said, "You must be happy." Luo Xian guessed that Yan Chen had probably let go. As for this flower, she never thought that Yan Chen would suddenly send it to her. But Yan Chen kept watching her walk into the house, and she didn't have the nerve to throw the flowers in front of him, so she had to bring them in. When Chu Shenxiu asked, Luo Xian had no choice but to lie and say it was sent by Xia Chuanhai. Xia Ying walked to the sofa and sat down, recalling Luo Xian's series of reactions just now. Xia Ying suddenly felt panicked. Will this Yan Chen have any impact on her parents' relationship? Could it be that the reason why Xia Chuanhai in his previous life was so unfeeling toward Luo Xian was because Luo Xian later cheated on Yan Chen? However, it was obvious that Xia Ying could feel that Luo Xian liked Xia Chuanhai, but why did she lie when she explained the origin of the flower just now? If there really aren't any flowers, wouldn't lying seem a little guilty? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 566. Chapter 566. You are really scary sometimes. The more Xia Ying thought about it, the more she felt something was wrong. Yu Lingfen noticed Xia Ying's abnormality, so he asked in a low voice, "What's wrong?" Xia Ying shook her head and did not answer. Instead, she got up and left, walked to the balcony, and called Xia Chuanhai. Xia Chuanhai was in a meeting when he received Xia Ying's call. After seeing that it was Xia Ying's call, Xia Chuanhai stood up and walked out regardless of how excited the people on the stage were talking. The man was stunned. He had just reached the most critical part. The chairman was out, so should he continue? "Xia Ying, what's wrong?" Xia Chuanhai and Xia Ying spoke in an exceptionally gentle voice. The clerk who accidentally overheard this couldn't believe that their hellish Shura-like chairman could actually have such a tender side. Does this count as discovering the secret of their chairman? Will he be fired? Just thinking about it is scary. "Dad, what have you been doing lately? It's been a long time since I came to have dinner at home." Xia Ying's tone was annoyance. Obviously this is the most critical period to save Luo Xian. Why did Xia Chuanhai slip up at this time? Moreover, the most important point is that Yan Chen appears out of nowhere, making Xia Ying feel extremely panicked. Although Xia Ying had a good impression of Yan Chen in her last life, he was a very gentle and considerate person who was very kind to Luo Xian and was also very kind to her, so Xia Ying called him Uncle Yan Chen. However, just because he was so kind and even sent Luo Xian home and gave her roses with such obvious meanings, Xia Ying thought that Yan Chen was probably not just a best friend. With different emotions. Xia Ying suddenly remembered that Yan Chen was still unmarried, so would he have any illusions about Luo Xian? Xia Ying was very afraid that Yan Chen's appearance would completely destroy the relationship between Xia Chuanhai and Luo Xian that they had finally repaired. "I'm a little busy during this period. It'll be good if I get through this. I'll come over to spend time with you mother and daughter when I have time," Xia Chuanhai said. "Okay," Xia Ying responded sweetly, "you should also pay attention to your health. By the way, if you are usually busy, you can ask your assistant to buy some small gifts such as flowers for your mother." Xia Chuanhai laughed after hearing this. Okay, you little girl is quite clever." Xia Ying smiled and finished talking to Xia Chuanhai on the phone. Xia Ying turned around and suddenly bumped into Yu Lingfeng's chest. Yu Lingfeng subconsciously helped Xia Ying. Xia Ying rubbed her forehead and said angrily, "Yu Lingfeng, why did you suddenly appear? You scared me to death." Yu Lingfeng frowned and looked at Xia Ying as if she was frightened by him. Yu Lingfeng took off Xia Ying's hand, then gently stroked Xia Ying's forehead with his warm, broad palm, and said, "I'm sorry." Xia Ying suddenly burst into laughter. Yu Lingfeng was puzzled, "Why are you laughing?" "I just think the way you apologize solemnly is very cute." Cute. Yu Lingfeng thought about this word that was completely inconsistent with her. "Well, let Xia Ying say whatever she says." "I heard what you just said, did something happen?" Xia Ying frowned, "So you were eavesdropping on my phone call just now?" Yu Lingfeng pursed her lips and said nothing. "Nothing? Do you think you can hide it from me? Yu Lingfeng, you are really scary sometimes." End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 567. Chapter 567 Being Made Cold by Yu Lingfeng. Horrible. Yu Lingfeng heard Xia Ying describe him like this, and slightly raised her lips, showing a charming smile. "So do you confess, or do you wait for me to find out for myself?" Yu Lingfeng stared at Xia Ying's clear pupils and said calmly. So Xia Ying told Yu Lingfeng the whole story, as well as her inner conjectures and doubts. After hearing this, Yu Lingfeng frowned and pondered for a moment. Thinking of the subsequent split between Luo Xian and Xiachuan Hai in the previous life, Yu Lingfeng was still frightened. At that time, Yu Lingfeng was only focused on Xia Ying. It was the darkest period for her. Yu Lingfeng wanted to help her, but at the same time he seemed incompetent because of some scruples. By the time he had completely lost all those doubts and scruples, Xia Ying died in a car accident. Yu Lingfeng thought about what happened in her previous life, and there was a slight sadness in her eyes. It was not easy to detect, but Xia Ying noticed it. "Yu Lingfeng, do you also think something bad will happen?" Xia Ying asked in a low voice. She naturally doesn't want what happened in her last life to happen again. The relationship between Luo Xian and Xiachuan Hai is slowly breaking the ice now. At this juncture, no mistakes can be made. "I don't know." Yu Lingfeng thought for a while and then said, "But, you and I both know one thing. Aunt Luo and Uncle Xia like each other. As for Yan Chen, I will let 11 please investigate him. What is he doing and why he came to China?" "Good." Xia Ying nodded. If his origin and purpose were clear, Xia Ying's inner doubts and confusion might be well explained. "Uncle Xia hasn't been home for a long time. Are you very busy recently?" Yu Lingfeng asked again. "Well, there are a lot of things going on in the company recently, and he can't leave. He said he would come over after he was busy for a while, based on what I learned about my mother from the sidelines a few days ago. If nothing goes wrong, they will be able to reconcile soon." Xia Ying continued, "Although my mother is sometimes stubborn, she is soft-hearted. Coupled with my father's unremitting pursuit and efforts during this period, she has actually been shaken in her heart. I think when the time is right, they will be fine." "Well, this is best," Yu Lingfeng said. Hey, hey, you two, I've called you to eat so many times, why are you still in love?" Chu Shenxiu appeared at some point, leaning to the side with a toothpick in his mouth, and glanced at Yu Lingfeng up and down angrily. Yu Lingfeng, since he moved to the Xia family, he has spent less and less time in contact with his cousin Xiaoying. Not only that, he often took his cousin Sakura out to spend time together. Really, do you have to be so possessive? He's not the only one who likes his cousin Sakura and doesn't know how to share at all. Yu Lingfeng suddenly turned around and met Chu Shenxiu's gaze. Chu Shenxiu was still criticizing Yu Lingfeng in his mind, but suddenly realized that Yu Lingfeng had noticed him. His expression suddenly changed, and he suppressed the expression on his face. His strong desire to survive made him return to normal within a second. His expression was, "Why, you're not leaving yet? Are you still hungry?" Although Yu Lingfeng saw Chu Shenxiu's little thoughts, he ignored him and passed him with Xia Ying. Without even looking at him. "Chu Shenxiu. Did you think it was air?" He came over kindly to ask them to eat, but he didn't even look at him. As expected, his cousin Xiaoying was made cold by Yu Lingfeng. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 568. Chapter 568 Mock Test. On the day of the mock exam, the entire school layout was exactly the same as the college entrance examination scene. The moment Xia Ying sat in the examination room, she suddenly felt like she was in the college entrance examination. The questions in the mock test are much simpler than the usual monthly test. Because it is the last test before the college entrance examination, the questions are not too difficult as usual, because they are afraid of damaging the students' self-confidence and affecting their performance in the college entrance examination. Xia Ying felt relieved when she walked out of the examination room. The real college entrance examination was coming soon, and she was actually looking forward to it. "I didn't study hard in my last life and didn't get into the university of my choice. I hope I can make up for my regrets in this life." Taito University has been her goal since she was a child, and it has never changed. Since you want to take the exam, you must go to the top university. Bye. Xia Ying heard someone calling her from behind and quickly looked back. Yeziaksun was running towards her waving his arms. Yeziaksun had grown his hair for nearly 2 years, and now his hair is as long as his waist. Yeziaksun's hair is jet black, with a soft shine that has not been contaminated by chemical hair dyes. From the first year of high school to the third year of high school, Yeziaksun has grown more and more. She is no longer the standard unkempt academic master, but an innocent girl who can make people shine in the crowd. She has a small face with oval seeds, eyes, a nose that is not high but looks small and exquisite, and a pair of pink lips that she always likes to purse lightly, showing the shyness unique to a girl. When I first got to know Yeziaksun, she was timid, like a nerd who had no other bright spots except studying. He doesn't like to talk or laugh, and he is almost invisible in the crowd. But gradually, Xia Ying discovered that Yeziaksun was a great girl. She knows what she wants and will work hard for what she wants to do. Even if she is not favored by the outside world, even if she is regarded as a nerd, so what? When she confidently steps into the gate of a prestigious school, those ordinary people, the classmates who laughed at her, could only look up to the height she had reached, and could no longer see her writing vigorously. A silent person does not necessarily mean that she is truly indifferent to worldly affairs, but that her vision sees farther than you do. "Sakura, let's go have dinner together." "Okay." Xia Ying looked at Yeziaksun and smiled sweetly. She really likes the same ordinary friendship as those ordinary high school girls, going to and from school together, eating together, discussing entertainment industry gossip, going shopping together, watching movies together and laughing together. These seemingly ordinary things, for Xia Ying in the previous life, it's all a luxury. Because she had no friends at that time, and the only one she regarded as a treasure was Xiamenjian, the so-called sister who only wanted to harm her. Because of the sorrow in her memory, Xiameng cherishes every simple joy she currently has. "Hey, let's squeeze together." Xia Ying and Yeziaksun were chatting about something when suddenly a pleasant male voice came from above their heads. Xia Ying and Yeziaksun looked up and saw Jun Chenai. Jun Chenai put down the meal he had just packed and sat next to Xia Ying. Xia Ying frowned and looked at Jun Chenai. "Why did you suddenly eat in the school cafeteria today?" Xia Ying has never seen Jun Chenai appear in the cafeteria before. Jun Chenai took 2 mouthfuls of rice first, then raised his head and explained, "The atmosphere today is too heavy, it reminds me of the college entrance examination. It seems quite regretful to think that I haven't eaten in the cafeteria of my alma mater in 3 years of high school. So come and have a taste. Xia Ying was amused by the serious Jun Chennai and laughed softly. So, how do you feel after eating? Jun Chennai thought for a while and held back 2 words, it tastes bad. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuen Suya. Chapter 569. Chapter 569 Xiaoxun and I will tutor you in your studies. Xia Ying and Ye Xiaoxun laughed loudly at the same time, and Jun Chennai also laughed, but when they laughed, the 3 of them suddenly had red eyes and sore noses. Even though they were admitted to Taito University together, the university is so big, with different majors and departments, so the possibility of meeting them again is very small. What's more, Taito University is divided into 4 campuses. In any case, everyone's contact will definitely decrease after the college entrance examination. Furthermore, what Jun Chennai is most worried about right now is whether he can be admitted to Chengdu University. Although he got the best score in history in the last exam, usually he is still in the 30s or 40s of his grade. In their time, Imperial University only admitted about 20 people every year, and Jun Chennai was afraid that he would not be able to squeeze into the single plank bridge. Sakura, I will never forget that I had such a good friend like you. Ye Xiaoxun choked up. Me too. Xia Ying's eyes were red. She held Ye Xiaoxun's hand and said very seriously, you are my first good friend since childhood, Xiaoxun, I will always remember you. Remember to come and play with me when you have time, Qianwan, don't forget me. I will not. Jun Chennai sniffed, hey, can you two consider my feelings? Xia Ying and Ye Xiaoxun turned to look at Jun Chennai at the same time. You two will definitely be at Imperial University, but I'm not sure. Jun Chennai sighed softly. Although he seems to be successful now, he doesn't need to force himself to take the Imperial Capital University exam at all. Even if he passes the exam, his fans and the media will blow him to the sky. But Jun Chennai has always been a person who refuses to admit defeat, not to mention the goal he has set, so he wants to work hard to stick to it. Jun Chennai, like Xia Ying, wants to enter the art school of Taito University. Xia Ying wanted to take the exam in the music direction, while Jun Chennai wanted to take the exam in the performance direction. Jun Chennai likes acting. Every scene and every different character identity is like experiencing a different life. Jun Chennai enjoyed that feeling very much, and he enjoyed the process of acting very much. Xia Ying and Ye Xiaoxun looked at each other, then looked at Jun Chennai, and said in unison, let's help you with tutoring. Jun Chennai was stunned for a moment. He glanced at Xia Ying twice and then at Ye Xiaoxun. Neither of them seemed to be joking. Really? Jun Chennai was completely stunned and did not react for a moment. Xia Ying and Ye Xiaoxun nodded. I'm better at math, and Xiaoxun is better at math and science. I'll tutor you in math, English, and Xiaoxun will tutor you in math. Xia Ying continued, you have a good foundation now, so you can make some progress in the last period of time, maybe we can rush forward. Okay, thank you. Jun Chennai nodded, and then continued, if I really pass the exam, I can grant any of your wishes. Jun Chennai felt that with the 2 powerful university students Xia Ying and Ye Xiaoxun joining forces, he would definitely be able to pass the exam. Xia Ying listened to Jun Chennai's words and smiled, that's not necessary, but you should finish the meal first before we can start the formal class. Jun Chennai lowered his head and looked at his outstanding meal. Oh my god, it's all because the cafeteria aunt thought he was Jun Chennai, so she gave him so many meals. After eating them all, it was killing him. However, in the face of dreams, just be a little more aggrieved. Jun Chennai I started to eat the food in the cafeteria. Xia Ying and Ye Xiaoxun looked at his appearance and laughed. Thanks to the little cutie Yuzi for the reward. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 570. Chapter 570 went to see Yan Chen again. Yan Chen was leaving. Before leaving, Yan Chen sent a text message to Luo Xin, saying that he wanted to see her again. Although Luo Xin felt it was unnecessary, under Yan Chen's strong request, Luo Xin finally compromised. A few days before the college entrance examination, the school's requirements for senior high school students are very lax. As long as they can study hard, they don't have to come to school. Everything is for the college entrance examination, so do whatever you feel comfortable with. Xia Ying has been staying in the study these days, while Yu Lingfeng gives her tutoring lessons. Xia Ying had just come out to relax and drink some water when she saw Luo Xin who was about to go out. Xia Ying held the water glass in her hand and asked, "Mom, where are you going?" "I made an appointment with some sisters to watch a movie together. I'll come back after watching it," Luo Xin said to Xia Ying with a faint smile. "What movie?" Luo Xin was stunned for a moment. Fortunately, he had seen the movie schedule in the cinema before, so he remembered a few upcoming movies. Luo Xin thought for a while and said, "Finding Ocean." "Oh." Xia Ying lowered her eyes and looked at Luo Xin with a strange light in her eyes, but Luo Xin didn't notice it and turned around and left. Xia Ying looked at Luo Xin's back and sighed. She guessed that Luo Xin must be going to meet that Yan Chen. Otherwise, when he asked her what movie to watch just now, she wouldn't have hesitated and dodged for a while before answering Xia Ying. Xia Ying took the glass of water and walked to the study room full of melancholy. Yu Lingfeng raised his eyes to look at Xia Ying, who looked strange, and asked, "What's wrong?" "Yu Lingfeng, I suspect that my mother went to see that Yan Chen again. Zihu investigated Yan Chen some time ago." Xia Ying knew that Yan Chen had liked Luo Xin for many years. From college to now, she has never forgotten her. As for those things about him, Xia Ying also knew about them, and the hidden meaning in them was too strong. Yan Chen has not forgotten Luo Xin for so many years. Now that Luo Xin and Xia Chuanhai are separated again, the meaning of him choosing to return to China to find Luo Xin at this time is too obvious. Xia Ying thought, Luo Xin was not stupid, and she could definitely tell that Yan Chen was interested in her, but why didn't she refuse? Why do she keep going out with Yan Chen again and again? Is she worthy of her father? The more Xia Ying thought about it, the more her head hurt. She originally thought that without Xia Menjian and her daughter, the relationship between Xia Chuanhai and Luo Xin would be stable. But judging from the current situation, this Yan Chen is obviously another major obstacle in the relationship between Xia Chuanhai and Luo Xin. Xia Ying now only thinks that Luo Xin had better not be fascinated by the passionate Yan Chen at this juncture, and not to fall in love with him. Yu Lingfeng frowned. "Maybe, just meeting for a meal is not as complicated as you think. But if it's really that simple, there's no need to lie to me." Xia Ying just couldn't figure out the reason why Luo Xin kept hiding Yan Chen from her. "I'm just afraid that you'll have random thoughts. You have to trust your parents' feelings, don't think too much, and study with peace of mind." Yu Lingfeng reached out and touched Xia Ying's tired head and said, "I hope so. I really want them to reconcile. I'm really afraid." She was very afraid that the tragedy of her previous life would happen again. She had done so many things before, wasn't it just to avoid that day? She thought that if Xia Menjian and Xiao Yanhong left their lives completely, no accidents would happen. Who knows, things in the world are unpredictable, and Xia Ying always has an indescribable feeling of panic and nervousness. End of this chapter.